In this episode, we're going to get this crusty BMW V8 running again. It's been a couple years and actually it has been running, but the only problem is I can't get on the street. A couple things I need to fix. Like this hood, it doesn't close, and these wheels, they don't go straight. One of the things you're going to have to figure out when you're doing a V8 swap in the E30 is what kind of cooling system that you want. I used to use the original cooling reservoir that used to go down here, but my coolant readings were reading a little cooler than it used to be, so I decided to go for what the coolant reservoir from the engine it came from. So this is the E34 one. The only problem is the hood doesn't close because it's sitting a little bit too high. Since I have my wiring harness connector in the back, and this used to have a cover on it, so it covers up all your wiring, and you can find this on the BMW M3. So for me to actually mount this on, I'm gonna have to remove this beauty cover and then mount it directly on the firewall so that the hood would actually close. It's been a while, so I gotta remember what I need to do. Oh yeah, the first thing you should do is make sure that your battery's disconnected. Before mounting the coolant reservoir, I needed to clean up part of the wiring harness. With the V8 swap, space in the engine bay is pretty limited, so I wanted to make sure the wiring was routed away from any coolant lines or moving parts. So I think I got it enough to where I want it to be. I think the goal here is to make it low enough so that it's not hitting the engine or leaning against it. And I believe these two ears here, they have bolt holes. That's where I'm gonna drill 2 holes against this covering in the back, and hopefully it stays there perfectly fine. I don't want it high enough where this top here actually hits the roof. So I believe this is low enough where that I only have to cut a little bit of the skeleton on the roof here and it'll look good. To mount the coolant reservoir on, I found it easier just to use a riv nut and some spacers and screws, and then you could just drill the 2 holes wherever you want and just mount them on. You could find these anywhere at the hardware store. Now that I have the reservoir position set, I can move on to mounting it. I marked the bracket locations and drilled the holes for the riv nuts. Riv nuts gives us a strong threaded insert in the sheet metal, which makes mounting components like this much more secure and easier to move later if needed. After installing the riv nuts with the tool, we now have solid mounting points ready for the reservoir brackets. So we finished installing the coolant reservoir, and there was a lot of custom work that needed to be done there. The only thing left is installing the hood and making sure everything fits, because right where the reservoir cap is, that does sit a little bit higher than what the E30 used to be. So we're gonna have to notch the hood a little bit. And after that, the car should be ready to go to the alignment shop. One of the reasons why some might not want to install this coolant reservoir is that you're going to have to cut the subframe because the cap sits a little too high. And this is how big I had to cut off the hood. It's only the skeleton or the frame part of it, so you just have to cut a little piece and then it should be able to close. So after adding the alignment tools, it looks like the back is a lot wider than the front. So that means I have to adjust it by pushing it out. So if the back is bigger than the front, then it's pretty much like a triangle like that. So we're gonna have to push the tie rods out and make it straight. And that's gonna be good enough because we're just trying to drive straight enough so that we can reach the alignment shop. I made some adjustments to the tie rod to get the alignment close before taking it in for a proper setup. Since the front suspension and steering components were removed during the swap, the toe was completely off. I adjusted both tie rods evenly to help keep the steering wheel centered, then checked the measurements across the front and rear of the tires to get a rough toe setting. This will make the car safe to drive and prevent tire wear before getting a full alignment. I haven't driven my car so long that all the tires ran out of air. So that's embarrassing. So let's put some air in it so that it actually looks nice. To fix the camber issue, I got these spacers from BMW. So the idea with this is we're gonna add spacers on the bottom of the knuckles, and hopefully that'll push our suspension to have negative camber and then fix my camber problem. So here are the spacers. There's quite a few of them, and then the idea is that you stack them until it gives you enough camber or your desired camber. So let's try to put this on and fix my camber issue. Ooh, ow. To add camber spaces, I started jacking the car up, removing the 2 lower bolts on the spindle, then I loosened the top bolt just enough to create some space. From there, I slid the spacers between the spindle and strut. In this case, I added all 3. Once everything was lined up, I tightened it back down.